St. Louis, where I was living at the time, about Baba. And he kept asking me to hear more, and at a certain point he felt he had gotten all he could from me, and he wanted to come down here. And he was a very, felt he'd been a spiritual student for lifetimes. We came down in his van. He was such a strong person. I mean, he hardly ever stopped. It was like 1,000, 1,200 miles. We got there in one day. So we're getting near the center. I began to feel this inner compulsion to start telling him more about Baba. And he said that this, and he said that, and I felt, this is ridiculous. I feel like I'm proselytizing. What the hell am I doing? And then there's from inside, it said, tell more. And I kept, and finally it became too ridiculous, and I just couldn't do it anymore, because it was against, I'm not that kind of person. You know, I'll talk about Baba if somebody asks or something like that. So finally I just stopped, and something broke inside me. And I heard, I mean, I'm not saying audibly, but inside this voice saying, well, you were coming to the center as a disciple this time, but now you're coming as a pilgrim again. And I wouldn't have thought that Baba would have wanted me to do that, but apparently he had. Thank you.
I was traveling up and down the East Coast for 8 months straight with a whole small zoo of animals in a van. It was a difficult journey, and our finances were dependent upon some stock that I invested in, and that Bob had told me when to buy it and when to sell it. I made like $120,000 in about 6 months, and that's what funded the whole trip, because we didn't camp out. We stayed in some very fancy bed and breakfast, and other times we had no money except just to sleep in the van sitting up. So it was very checkered. And we were now in, where was that? In Massachusetts, in Amherst, I think it was, yeah. And we were going through a period where we were, the last few days had to sleep standing up. And it was very difficult, especially with me and diabetes. I'd wake up with all kind of pains. And Steve was very worried about money that day. I mean, it was like you could feel the worry coming out of him, because he didn't want to sleep in the van. And I just couldn't stand being around him anymore, because he was getting me. I always say, you know, if you learn nothing else in this life, you got to learn that money is worthless, utterly worthless. Baba said that money was shit. That's a direct quote from Baba. So I went off to the local movie theater. I didn't have money to go into a movie, but I figured, let me just, enjoy watching the people come in to see the films. And I had in my head that I would stay, because it was, between certain films and no one would come in. I'd stay to 7:20. And Baba told me inwardly, no, stay to 7:30. And I thought, well, why would Baba care whether I stay 10 minutes later? But I know enough to follow that guidance, so I did. And then I went outside at 7:30 as instructed, and I had some interesting interactions. Then I met a woman who was coming to the movies, and she said, I helped her on stage. She didn't want to go to movies. She invited me next door to have some beet vodka with her and talk, and we did. And it turned out, after talking for a long time, that we actually had met online, but we never met each other. But then she asked me about where I stayed last night. I told her the truth. She said, well, I'm going to pay for your hotel room for you and your friend. And she gave me $200. I said, well, why do you want to do that? She said, I just feel that I want to do that. So, and then she said, where did you have dinner? I said, we didn't have dinner. So she said, well, you get your friend, and I'm taking out to Indian restaurant. So we go to this Indian restaurant about 9 o'clock. We were the last customers to go in there. And we were there, and there was one mixed race couple with an African man, not African American, clearly African. You could see the way he was dressed and the mannerism. And he was there with his white wife or whatever, and a child, presumably mixed race child. I went over to him. Usually I don't do this. I said, my name is Ira Shader, and I've been a disciple of Mayor Baba for whatever it was, 43 years, I think it was. He said, my name is Umachundu, and I've been a disciple of Mayor Baba for 37 years. I said, what are you, pulling my leg? He said, no. I said, where did you hear of Mayor Baba? He said, in Pune. I was traveling in India, and I went up to the tomb, and I became convinced of Mayor Baba. And he was from, I think it was Nigeria. There were not too many in the mainland of Africa who are Baba lovers. And he said, can I have your Baba button? So I gave it to him. He pinned it on his long, scraggly beard, and we hugged each other. It was very unusual. And then we had a wonderful dinner, and the final final thing of the night was, I asked the waiter what his name was, and he said Avatar. But that's not, it was a Sikh restaurant, and I found out that Sikh men often are called Avatar. So it wasn't in itself essentially unusual, but it was just such an unusual number. The whole day was just straight Mayor Barber.
Last night, Leatress it was a great movie about her story with Baba as a child growing up. And when I first came to Baba, it was in the 70s in New York. I went to Baba House, which was a loft that was set up with full-time, Baba, it was a rented thing that was always there. And it's kind of like this, but smaller. And Darwin happened to be there, and I was new to Baba. And I was standing by the door, and it was some type of big meeting, forget exactly what it was, but I looked in, and my experience, what I saw was I saw this guy in there who was floating about 3 feet off the ground. And he had this huge glow, like an aura, that, he was just talking about Baba. He was talking about carrying Baba's clothes, I remember, in the 30s. And after the meeting, I went up and then while he was talking, he saw me, and after a while, I wasn't seeing this aura anymore, and he was on the ground. And I wasn't even walking around saying Jai Baba to people yet. I wasn't actually officially a Baba lover yet. And I sat down next to him, and he asked me to come in and sit, and that was the only place to sit. And afterwards, he embraced me, and when he did, his cheek was on my cheek, and he held me, and I told him that it was beautiful energy that I experienced, and what he said to me was it was Baba's love. And that was when I became a Baba lover.
I have a story. When I came to Baba in the late 1990s, I heard about him in New York, in Long Island, and I went to my first Baba meeting in New York, a couple of meetings, Madison Avenue Baptist Church, where it was held. And the old-time Baba lovers were telling me to go to India, The Mandal hadn't been to the center yet. I was working at a bank, was doing some telemarketing at the time. And I knew India would be money, and I knew that would be a long shot, but it was weird. I've never experienced it in all the jobs I had. They were talking about a stock option, and this was a big company, Chase Manhattan Bank, and I've never experienced it before. All of a sudden, they told me to call a number to redeem your stock option. I'm just a desk telemarketer there. I called it was $1,800. It was just like, okay, the operator answered, okay, number 5685, employee number, you'll find the money in your bank deposit account next. It was almost, I've never experienced this before. The money I got, I was able to get through, I was renting plus I got an apartment in an Indian newspaper. I needed a place to live. And the landlady was Indian and gave me an Indian travel agent in Queens. That got me a good deal. And everything was taken, I went alone. And my parents are not Baba people, and they're like, what the heck are you doing? And this was in 1998, August. I was able to go for 3 weeks, just enough time to cover the bank's vacation, paid for everything, flight from Air India. And I met Erich. I'd never experienced like the people in the 70s and 80s, the real Meherazad experience, but I got a good taste of it. Dr. Goher, Erich, Alaba, Balnut too, Korshed, quite of them was still around. Then it was I got an Anavas, Katie, they were there. And I still think back at that. It was almost like it was kind of the weirdest, all of a sudden this money comes in. Never experienced any of the other jobs, so it was a mystical experience to be able to get that taste of India. Just wanted to share that.
How awesome is that? So it took me probably 10 years before I recognized Mayor Baba. I had a Who book that it was Pete Townsend, all his anthology, all the songs, and there was Baba's picture in there. I got the Who book probably when I was 16 or 17. And this book would open to O Parvanjor. And I'd look at this and I go, I don't know that song. And I would close it. It actually has a crease. Anyway, so I'm doing things I shouldn't be doing in high school. And you can imagine what those things were. Lots of drugs. And this angel without wings comes to my room. I have no idea who this is. He stood in my room. He was beautiful. Sadra, flowing hair, an angel without wings. And he said, you must stop this. This is not your path. Now, I told no one. I dropped my friends, I buckled down on my schoolwork, and my life went on. And then later, 10 years later, I met Marvin. There was a poster of Baba on his wall, happiness lies in making others happy, and I knew I was home. So I married him, but then Marvin brought me here. And it was 10 years later that I saw a picture of Baba and I remembered that experience. And that was Mayor Baba who came to my room and saved my life. Yeah, so there you go. That's my story, Jai Baba.
Does Marvin have a rebuttal?
This is one you gotta, all right, this has happened quite a long time ago.
Turn around.
1989.
Maybe she's got the camera.
Oh, sorry. 1989, and when I first saw Baba's face, in the door, and I fell in love immediately. And I had to find out more about him, and I came down here in Myrtle Beach, and I was given a pretty substantial hit. And I started to believe that, yes, maybe there is such a thing as God. This is not bad. Well, my life was a little wrecked at that point. And I got my divorce and my visa and my passport all in the same day to go to India. I was going to sell my house, I was going to become whatever and live in India. I had given up my house, my kids, my everything, all the money, given it to my ex. And she was pregnant with somebody else's baby. It was really a wreck, and I was ready to run away. And so I got on the plane in Chicago to come to New York to change planes, and then it was a Lufthansa plane, went to Germany. Well, I sit down next to this couple in Chicago, and I start telling them, oh, where are you guys going? And they told me, well, we're going to London. It's our 25th wedding anniversary. And we just wanted to enjoy it. Okay, so my life just fell apart in 3 seconds. And I changed the subject. I said, oh, you're going to London, huh? Maybe you should go to the Tate Museum. There's this gallery, you know, in New York, and you go see these beautiful paintings, and I described one of these paintings by what's the painter, the English painter. Turner, right. So I described this Turner painting to him. I said, this is the one that's the most impressive. It's just got these pink clouds and beautiful, beautiful sun just barely bursting through the clouds, and off in the distance, through this terminus of seas, you could see the Emerald Isles. It was just such a great picture. And I noticed that they were just ordinary folks, you know, from Chicago, going on their 25th anniversary and having no relationship with art whatsoever. And so I cut the story short and let them talk. And I changed planes in New York, and I went on to Germany, and they went on to London. And then, it was the middle of the ocean, and I started to feel this tinge inside of me that said, what are you doing? You're leaving Chicago and going to live in India to see some crazy guy? Like, what's wrong with you, Marvin? Are you nuts? And I cut my hand because right after that, the captain came on the line and said, I don't really understand this, but we have an instrument malfunction. We can't land in Germany. And we have to make an emergency landing in London. And I said, wow, this is interesting. And she passes out bagels and cream cheese, and I'm cutting myself with my own knife and looking at the blood and thinking, what did I just do? Where am I going? I'm going to India. But now I'm going to London. Maybe I can see those Turners. I can just get off the plane, go see the Turner paintings, and not have to worry about all this crap. You know, let's just get down to it. And wow, what a great idea. So I put down the plate, and I went over to the window, because I was in a wide-body plane in the middle seats, and I had not looked out the window in all this time. And finally, I'm looking out the window over where the stewardess area is. And it's like 5 o'clock in the morning, and the clouds are pink. The sky's blue, the sun's coming through the Emerald Isles in the distance. It's the picture. It's the painting that I wanted to see. It's right in front of me, right out the stupid window.
Wow.
And I said, whoa, this is incredible. How's this happening? And I just couldn't understand. And I just started trying to pull myself together, and I got up from the window, and I started walking to another window, and I looked out there, and it was another picture, but it was not the same. It was just, you know, it was just the same. And then I went to another window, and then I went to another window, and another window. And I made 6 different stops all the way around the plane. Well, I got back to the original window, and it wasn't the same picture, but it was still nice. And so I figured I'd keep going, and I kept going around and around. I did this 10 times, going to every single window and looking out. And finally I got back to my original window, and I looked out, and the whole picture was gone. It was bright, fluffy white clouds, and it was a beautiful ocean, and so what? And I got down on my knees at the window, and I said, oh, if this is real, I don't want to go to London. I just want to find out who you are. And the pilot comes on the recorder. He says, I don't know what happened. I've been flying planes for 40 years, and all of a sudden the instruments are working.
we're going straight to Germany. And we got a tremendous tailwind on us. We're going to get there ahead of schedule. And I jump up and I went ahead on the top of the portal. Going like this, turning around. And the stewardess is looking at me and I'm going, oh God, he's seen me. He thinks I'm crazy. And I focused on him. And I said, you don't understand. See, I was talking to this couple coming over on a plane and they were going to London and I wanted to see this Turner painting, and so I started explaining this Turner painting to them, and they didn't understand what it was, and I saw it out the window, and then it appeared, and I'm sorry. And he says, so you're the one. Go sit down in your seat and stop bothering with my plane.
Do you want me to continue mine? Because it wasn't over yet. All right. Okay, so.
Can have her come sit next to you or something? 'Cause
We go, so I do marry this man. And before that I had, Baba was coming in my dreams, but that's another subject. So we get married. My mom had passed away 3 days after my 28th birthday, just a few months after meeting Marvin. And, but she did see his picture and she said, I knew he'd look like that. So I thought that was my husband for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, so I wanted to have a yellow rose at the wedding for my mom. And, you know, things happen. I lost my nerve. I had a root canal 3 days before, 2 days before. It just got left. And so I have this locket somebody gave me with yellow rose petals and pink rose petals, so there's a theme. And we drive down through the Smokies. We stay in a little town called Townsend. It's really funny. But we get to Myrtle Beach and we were put in a lantern cabin. And on the table, there was a pink rose. But next to Baba's picture in the bedroom, there was a single yellow rose. And nobody knew about this. You know, it was one of those things, but I knew that Baba knew. I knew that rose was put there by Baba. I just knew it. And so about a year later, I was talking to Jane, and I told her the story about these two roses that were in our cabin. And she said that they were the last roses from Bob's garden that year. It was an October wedding. And she had kept, for weeks she was asking Baba for some flowers because it was a honeymoon cabin. And, but I knew that, but anyway, so those roses were there. And then we went to a bed and breakfast a year later. Do you want to continue the story? A year later, and we stayed in a
bed and breakfast.
Sally, this really sweet lady. Here, you're better at telling the story.
So we go up to the bedroom, and there's no roses. And she looks at me and she says, "Where's my yellow rose?"
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
I said,
Where's
oh,
the
no flowers.
roses?
I said no flowers.
No flowers.
I said, oh.
And I don't know why, but I just turned to her and I said, "Be patient." We walked down the stairs, and at the bottom of the stairs was a little picture that said,
In God we trust.
"In God we trust."
On the wall.
On the
or
wall.
God bless this house.
Something like that. And then
It
right
was
in
two
front
of
of that
them, one of those.
were two separate vases with one yellow rose and one pink rose.
Now, wait a minute, but then we tell her the story.
Oh, right,
There.
we told her the story.
So we tell her the story, Sally, and she said, she talked about picking those flowers, and she picked them 2 separate days. And she said normally she would just put them in the other vase, but it occurred to her that she asked herself, actually, why am I putting this in a separate vase? And after telling the story to her, she says, you know, so often I see God working through others, but I have never acknowledged or really noticed me being his instrument. And so it was a beautiful thing.
Yes, sweet.
So, Jay Baba.
Sweet story.
Oh, bartender, my friend, won't you pour me some wine? I thought that love would be easy, but it just grows harder with time. It was in the night, breeze brought the scent of musk from the head of that one so fair. And ever since that night, oh, how my poor heart aches. Just one twist of his hand. Now your prayer mat, red with wine. If the master tells you to, that Holy One knows the secrets of the past. He will surely guide you through. Oh, bartender, my friend, won't you pour me some wine? I thought that love would be easy, but it just grows harder with time. How can I be happy and free from doubt on this path to my beloved one? At any moment, the caravan bell may ring out. Say your time in this resting place is done. Death is like a cold dog whirlpool, with a submarine, just waiting to wash us away. You who wait in comfort upon the shoreline, how can we know your fate?
If you read the Divan of Hafiz, that's the song that I've adapted from Hafiz, and if you read Hafiz, that's the very first ghazal in the sort of canonized Divan. And this next song is a song that is reputed to be the song that that is a document of when Hafiz set out on the spiritual path, first not by seeking God, but by seeking a beautiful woman that he saw up on a balcony who had lit a candle and illuminated her face, and he wrote this, reputedly he wrote this song about it afterwards. Oh, won't someone tell me who lit that candle burning bright? She has set my soul aflame as she lights up the night. Oh, and if she is going to cool that flame in someone, oh, someone, tell me in whom. She has upset my heart today. All my religious faith is gone, for I fear she must be living in the house of another one. Oh, and if she is going to sleep tonight with someone, oh, someone, tell me with whom. And may her ruby lip, more delicate than wine, never be far away from mine. Oh, won't someone tell me, oh, will I tonight and sip that sweet nectar of wine from the cup of her lip? Oh, for God's sake, tell me, oh, is the moth who has the right to fly round that lovely candle, bathing in its light? Oh, and if she is going to shine that light on someone, oh, someone, tell me on whom. And may her ruby lip, more delicate than wine, never be far away from mine. Oh, won't someone tell me, oh, will I tonight and sip that sweet nectar of wine from the cup of her lip? I said, my darling, without you, my heart is filled with such distress. And then she spoke these words to me, laughing beneath her breath. She said, if someone causes such distress to Hafiz, oh, Hafiz, tell me who. She said, if someone causes such distress to Hafiz, oh, Hafiz, tell me who. So, rejected and distraught, Hafiz went where all good Sufis go, into the bar room. Check my tuning before I go into the bar room. Now remember, for the Sufi poets, the cup is the heart, the wine is the love of the beloved is God, and if he's drinking wine, he becomes intoxicated with love. If he's drinking blood, he's drinking the blood of Christ, he's drinking the blood of suffering, the blood of despair, and in this one he's drinking the blood of wine, or the cup of wine. Into the mirror of my cup, the reflection of your glorious face fell, and from the gentle laughter of love into a drunken state of longing I fell. Struck with wonder by the beauty of the picture that within my cup I beheld, the picture of this world of illusion from the reflection of my mind fell. Beneath the sword of grief, of love for you, the holy pilgrim, there is a joy no tongue can tell. For that one who was slain by you found happiness the instant the axe fell. From the house of prayer into the house of dream, I felt not of myself. From eternity it was meant to be. You came to me, and into drunkenness I fell. From the beginning, less beginning, beneath the veil your face was hidden well. But upon those with love and wisdom, hurry from your most glorious face fell. All this world reflected wonder, wine and love and song, in which we dwell, is nothing but a fragment of the one whose reflection into my cup fell. With a loving eye and pure vision, the holy pilgrim saw your face so well. He whose eye was clouded with thought saw you not, and into earthly desire fell. The holy ones who quote the scripture have seen your face and possess some of your wealth.
heartbroken and destitute, from their midst into disrepute, Hafiz fell. Oh, heartbroken and destitute, from their midst into disrepute, Hafiz fell. One day I should find myself on the street with these to your door, my life would be complete. The black of your eyes are on my mind of peace. The curl of your hair has stolen away my sleep. I have been so beaten and abused by the events of this world, and all that I've been through. I will never truly be alive until I die from loving you. I have no power or gold, no influence to open up your door. I only stand outside and grieve. I may not enter in, and neither may I leave. I would go, but where? I would do something, but what? I would exist only for you, but how? I would create a remedy for all my ills. Oh, but what remedy can there be now? I am the victim of a violent crime committed by the cruel passing of time. Oh, that will have to be enough. Those who judge all by reason will never understand the mysteries of love. I would go where I would do something, but what I would exist only for you. But how I would create a remedy for all my ills. Oh, but what remedy can there be now? I am the victim of a violent crime committed by the cruel passing of time.
Cliff Hackford on the drums there, huh?
Go ahead and weep, heartbroken nightingale, for this world is the place of weeping, and never trust the treacherous smile of the faithless rose. It is a promise that she never intends on keeping. Come and bring a cup of wine, for the palace is in ruins, and these bodies of yours and mine will not last long. Life is such a fragile thing, it is departing upon the wind. Come, have a drink with me, for soon it will be gone. I am the slave of that great one who renounces all these worldly things, rejecting all beneath the blue dome of the sky. Grieve not for this passing show, but remember something I once heard from a fellow traveler who was passing by. He said, untie the knot which is binding up your forehead. Accept with joy what fate provides for you and me. The door of destiny is fixed, we may not open it. Though we may try, we simply haven't got the key. Well, go ahead and weep, heartbroken nightingale, for this world is the place of weeping, and never trust the treacherous smile of the faithless rose. It is a promise that she never intends on keeping. Last night drunk and alone, I was sitting in the tavern. Oh, how can words ever express the things I heard? The angel Gabriel came to me, bringing a message from the other world. With his angelic voice, he spoke to me these words. He said, "Great falcon, can't you see? You are a noble bird of vision. You don't belong here in this world of pain and vice. A nest in heaven waits for you. First to suit your lofty stature, you'll find it high atop the tree of paradise. Oh, can't you hear the royal falconers whistling for you? They are calling you back to paradise from here below. Oh, tell me, why are you so reluctant to return there? What is it about this world that fascinates you so? Well, go ahead and weep, heartbroken nightingale. Oh, this world is the place of weeping. And never trust the treacherous smile of the faithless rose. It is a promise that she never intends on keeping. Shall I give you some advice? I learned it long ago. It was taught to me by a master of the way. If you will take it to your heart and then put it into practice, you may find it is of use to you one day. Expect nothing from this world, for she will never be faithful. She is unstable, always changing with the wind. Do not be tempted by her smile, for she is nothing but an aging bride. Throughout the ages, she has been married to 1,000 men. Now tell me, why do you poets nurture so much envy for these lovely verses that Hafiz has strung for you? His gracious heart and lovely speech were given to him by the hand of God. So what else could he do? Well, go ahead and weep, heartbroken nightingale. For this world is the place of weeping. And never trust the treacherous smile of the faithless rose. It is a promise that she never intends on keeping. It is a promise that she never intends on keeping. It is a promise that she never intends on keeping. Jai Baba, thank you.
O pilgrimage to the Holy Land, where are you going? Where are you going? The beloved is here. Come on back. Come on back. The beloved is your next door's neighbor. There is only a wall between you. Why are you wandering in the desert? Why are you looking afar? If you happen to see the face of the faceless beloved, then you will happen to know that you are the master, you are the slave, and you are also the threshold where the beloved rests. You have traveled tens of times in this road to arrive to that house of God. Try once to rise from that house to this eternal roof. Once you put away your preaching and praying altar, then you will be free from this traveling. Come out from your cloth of piety. Come out from your cloth of piety and be free forever.
از این راه بدان
خرقه ناموس به کلی درآیی ای قوم به اشرف کجایی 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 آشوب همینجاست بیایی بیایی
O divine witness, who will pull away the string on your veil? O bird of paradise, who will give you grain and water? Sleep has fled my eyes from this heart-wrenching fear. Whose embrace will now become your house of rest and sleep? You aren't asking about this dervish. I'm afraid you aren't concerned with his redemption or benediction. Those hungover eyes paved the way to the hearts of your lovers. It is quite evident that even your wine is intoxicated. The arrow you tossed toward my heart missed its mark due to your own mischief. I wonder what other tricks you may have up your knowing sleeve. The wellspring of truth is far from this desert. The wellspring of truth is far from this desert. Beware that the ghoul of the desert doesn't deceive you with a mirage. You didn't hear any of my moans and my cries. It is evident, my love, that the threshold of your abode is quite high. O joy-giving fortress, the very abode of intimacy. O joy-giving fortress, the very abode of intimacy. May you be spared ruin by the plague of our times. Let us see how you will spend your old age, O heart, when your youth was spent in mischief and debauchery. Hafiz is not the kind of slave to escape the master. Be kind and return. I am devastated by your anger and your blame. I forgot to read a couple of lines I was going to read in Farsi, so some of the audience speaks. And so this is the Ghazal 15 of Hafiz. ای شاهد قدسی که کشد بند نقابت وی مرغ بهشتی که دهد دانه و آبت خوابم بشد از دیده در این فکر جگرسوز کاغوش که شد منزل آسایش و خوابت. جان. Hafiz's pure wine. All right. The next one is Ghazal 29 from the Qudsi version. What care do we have for wine? What do we care for wine when we are consumed with the thoughts of you? Tell the jug to go away and do what it wants, since the tavern is in ruins. Even if the jug is from paradise, pour it all away. Without the presence of the friend, even fine drink that you pour is like agony. Alas, the beloved is gone, and my weeping eyes keep wiping away the image of his face from my thoughts. Awaken, O sleeping sight, in this house of slumber. There is no safety from the constant threat of flood. The beloved passes near you openly. However, seeing the strangers within your heart, he hides himself behind a mask. When the rose saw the kiss of perspiration on your rosy cheeks, when the rose saw the kiss of perspiration on your rosy cheeks, it drowned in rose water from the longing fire of its sorrowed heart. The meadow is green and lush. Let us not pass up the life-giving water of love, because the world in its entirety is nothing but a mirage. You won't find any room in my mind, so spare me your advice. This corner is filled with the murmur of the lute and the song of the harp. So, what if Hafiz is a fanatic lover of beauty and charm? This is a natural trait for the young in heart.
I would like to share some stories when Baba had visited Iran in 1931. As you all know, there were 12 young boys from Iran who went to India, as Baba called them, to join Baba's school, Prem-Ashram, and to stay with him. And when Baba told them that you go back to Iran, it was very sad for them. So Baba did promise them that I will come back, I will come to Iran and I will visit you. So I'm not going to leave you alone, you just go back. So in 1931, Baba went and, this is what Esfandiar has described, that he came, and then he came to our village, and as he was just walking in the alleys, it was so beautiful that it was like a river of love just flowing on the street, and it was filling all the alleys and all the corners of the town. And we kids were very, very happy to see Baba, and we were just flying around him. We were just smiling and so happy to see him, and he was like our old friend, our beloved, our spiritual master, our father, real father, spiritual father has come among us. And interestingly, I even saw my relatives and the elders, they also were kind of intoxicated with Baba's coming, and they were all running in the alleys behind Baba. Baba was walking so fast, and then everybody was following. And so Baba came and stayed in Esfandiar's parents' house. That was in Jafarabad. And he says that he remembers before Baba coming, his mother had made a very beautiful cushion. And then he had asked all the kids not to touch it, not to sit on it, because this is belong to before Meher Baba, don't touch it, don't get even close, don't eat by it, and so forth. So he was very protecting that cushion that she actually hand made it. So, and she kept it in the veranda in the, best possible place of the house. And there were other cushions, and when Baba came, and it was just, he knew where to go to sit, and he went just straight, and he sat down on the cushion that his mother made. So it touched her heart very much. And then her father always had a little opposition with Meher Baba, because he was worried that Baba is taking his son away from the religion, and he's not going to marry, and he's not going to start a family and be a domestic person. And basically he didn't agree for him to run away. And but he was very amazed to see that his father also was flowing, he was also following Meher Baba on that path, and was so cheerful. And he even go ahead and he brought Esfandiar's passport and offer it to Baba and say, Baba, Meher Baba, this is Esfandiar's passport, you're welcome to take him away. He's yours, you're welcome to take him away. So Esfandiar later says, but I was so surprised at what made his mind change, or his heart change. And Meher Baba looked at the picture of the photo and the name, and he said his name was Esfandiar Vesali, and Vesal means union. And he says that, yes, give your son to me so I make him united to God. I give him, union with God. And so Baba was very pleased. Later on, Esfandiar asked his father that what happened to you? I was kind of shocked that you suddenly giving me my passport and all that. And he said, his father says, you don't have any idea what happened. When I saw Baba, it was like somebody had lifted me off the ground, and I was just flowing like a wind behind him. And I was in a state of so much bliss and so much happiness that I didn't have anything else to offer except to offer you as my son, because he had already taken. So and then many people have come, and then there was a mother and a daughter, and then the young daughter was balding, so she didn't have that much hair, on her head. So the mother brought her to Meher Baba, says, oh Baba, please see that my daughter gets some hair grown. So Baba asked for a soap bar from one of his mandali, and he gave it to the mother and says, what I want you to do is every time you give your daughter a bath, just make sure you wash it with this soap. And sure enough, the hair started to grow, and it became so thick and so long. That was, beyond average, basically. It overgrown and all that. So I saw the lady years later, and she was aged, but then you still could see that her hair was thick and dark and long, like a 16 years old or even heavier. And it says, "Yo, Mayor Baba, did that to me." So these are some of the stories, and then he also mentioned that he remembered, his sister had some health issues, so every week he had to go from the village to the city of Yazd and either walk or get a donkey ride, and it's 24 kilometers. And one morning he get up to go, and it was very, very cold. It was winter time, but then he was quite equipped. He wore on all the warm clothes, and he even wrapped himself with blankets, and he had hot water with him. And he got on the donkey, and then he started going toward the town. And then suddenly, in the middle of the road, the storm came. A very bad storm came that it lifted all the snow up on the sky, and then it was swirling, and basically it got so cold so quick that he couldn't move any farther, and he felt that he's going to die because of the coldness. And his donkey even didn't want to walk, and he get up from the donkey. Donkey wanted him to be on top of, he to be on top of the donkey because keep the donkey warm and so forth. So it wasn't going anywhere. And, a few years back, he had read from Divan Baba Tahir Oryan. And Baba Tahir Oryan is also a mystic poet, Persian poet, and he was kind of a mass-like, and he was, of course, in the spiritual path. And in one of the line of Baba Tahir Oryan, it says that it has been described that when he goes to the mountain and he's not even wearing anything, and it's all winter and cold and snow all over, but when he sits down, the spring flowers, tulips and vegetables started to grow around him, and all made a circle of the spring, and beautiful herbs started to grow. So in his mind, he says, how can that possible? Because the path to God is true love, and all I have to do is love Meher Baba and I get God realized. But this kind of idea that people, because of their love for God, can kind of change the nature around them and change the winter into the spring, it was very nonsense to him, at that time. But when he was just, now he's back to the donkey and he's traveling that path, he felt it was so cold that even his breathing started to slow down. It would take him like a minute to breathe in and a minute to breathe on, and then he felt that he's going to die. And he said the only despair at that time he had was, Baba, I'm going to die and I'm not going to see you again. and that's not fair. I wanted to see you in your physical body, and I just want to die on your feet. Why is this happening? And when the thought came, he felt like somebody poured down hot water on his head and then showered him with hot water, and then he started to sweat and wiping the sweat, and then he felt like he started to smell the herbs and the flowers, all the spring creation, and then then even the donkey felt that. The donkey got a stigma and started walking and warming up. And then he says, for the rest of my trip to the town, all I was experiencing, it was I'm in a heavenly spring garden. And then I realized that, yes, it is possible that love in God in your heart can even change the environment, can even change the weather, the atmosphere. So, am I allowed to say one of my own Baba story, or
Angela?
or just yes? Okay. How many more minutes? 4? Oh, wow. Okay. Jeba. Okay. And I just want to mention that, when I was a child, my mom told, I was at 7 years old, the thought came to me that where is God, where is God? I was looking into the sky, where can I find God? So I asked my mother that, مامان خدا کجاست؟ کجا میتونم خدا رو پیدا کنم? I asked my mom, where is God? Where can I find God? And then she was sewing, she was behind her sewing machine. And then she just left the sewing machine, she came down and she sat next to me, and she told me straight to my eyes, I said, Mehrnoush, we are so lucky because we got Meher Baba. Meher Baba is God. And all you need to do is to love him. And he's going to reveal everything that you are looking for. So I said, okay. And for a child listening from a mother, you're so close, you believe it. You say, okay, that's fine. And then when I was 8 years old, my father passed away. So I took to have Baba as my father. So as a little child, everything that I wanted, I would just ask him. And then you believe that he's going to help, because a child believes that, fully trusts on the mother and father, and then of course he helps. So, constantly Baba would help. And I remember, one incident, it was like Baba's own miracle. I remember I was in 9th grade, and I had a final algebra exam. And, I was studying at Kharazmi, Shemiran, and, the status of the school was very high, you have to be a good student and so forth. But I was kind of, my own personality is, if I want to study, I study and I get good grades, but really I don't have to, because now I want to find, have that connection with my divine, with my soul longing, my soul call. So I wasn't into studying, But I remember that it was a final exam, and then they made that algebra question so difficult that I was just stuck. How can I solve it, And then I was looking at my other friends, and then they were like very smart kids, and then they were crying, the tears was coming up, and I said, oh my God. And then at that time, the only prayer I had to Baba, I said, Baba, I don't want to fail. I don't want to fail. Please let me pass. Please help me. So I just said, Baba, here, I'm holding the pen, and please help me to solve because I don't want to fail it. And then I just put my thing, and then I just clear my thoughts, and it's like somebody was holding my hand, and it started to do all the equation and everything, boom, 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 and number 1. Okay, thanks, Baba, that's solved. The number 2, boom, 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 and anyway, so I did good. So what happened was, I was amazed, but what happened, the results came, and, I end up to come, or Baba came up to solve a very, very difficult equation, which all throughout, like, northern part of Tehran, there was one boy and I who made it. So here, then I remember somebody calls my home and then ask, from Board of Education. They called my mother and they said, oh, your daughter had solved the most difficult algebra, thing, and we want to reward her, and she's a genius, and this and that. And then my mom says, okay, wait a minute, let me ask my daughter. So she comes to me, and then she asks me, okay, what is all that business of algebra? What's happening? And I said, Mom, don't tell anyone, let's be quiet, because it wasn't me, it was Baba. And I don't want to get involved with, honors or, getting more tests, and you end up, too much. It was Baba. And then Mama said, oh, okay, I let them that you're not interested. I said, please do. So she said, oh, I don't know. So she answered the guy that, just forget about my daughter or something like that. But then next year that I come, of course, my algebra teacher, oh, Miss Lor Kalantari, I didn't know that you are so good in algebra and you never showed, that of yourself. And again, it's like, it wasn't me, it was Baba. But I didn't say that, I smiled. But this is how Baba does miracle, Okay. Is that done? Okay. I was just going to share the cherry story, kind of Esfandiar, but one more. Okay, going back to Esfandiar, of course, because he was one of Prem Ashram boys. In 1963, he does receive a letter from Beidul, which Baba has a Beidul to write to Esfandiar that how do you make your life, where is your money is coming from, and how do you feed your family and livelihood, where is it coming from? So, it was about 35 years that he has not seen Baba, and it was always a burning desire in his heart to go back and have a, visit with his beloved. So he says that when Baba or Beidul, he writes that, I have cherry orchids, I have a large property and I have a few cherries trees, and then when I harvest them in the springtime, then it gives us enough money for the rest of the year, as well as I have a little saving in the bank. And so Baba tells Beidul directs Beidul to write, to go to every cherry tree and say to the cherry tree that, cherry tree, you have to help me to go and visit my beloved in India. So you have to have the best harvest ever. And I need your help to make me able to go and make this trip. So every morning he would go from one cherry tree to another cherry tree and say the same things. And what happened that year, actually there was a storm, late winter storm, and then the whole farmers and the neighborhood, all the growers, their harvest was lost because of the very bad frost. And except all those cherry trees that Esfandiar said the prayer in the morning every day that please keep your harvest and be fruitful so I can go and see my beloved after 35 years. So then he took all those harvests to the bazaar, and then they overbid because it was nobody else had cherry, that year. So basically, he made not only enough but more than enough. And then his son bought him a flight ticket and went to India. And after 35 years, he saw his beloved Meher Baba. Jai Baba.
I want to dive into Prem Ashram and kind of explain what Baba really brought to the world as Prem Ashram. Prem means love. Ashram means basically the school of love. So he started that, when the avatar comes, he sets the example for different phases of life. And he shows that it can be done. Like he started the Pranashram, set fire into the heart of these boys to show that how one can love God and eventually go through the planes of consciousness and become one with God. Other examples are like, working with the mad and the masked, saying that it can be done. The masked, the God intoxicated. Or other examples like the new life. Why did he go through a new life? He didn't have to go through a new life, but he did that to set the example for us, that it can be done. If we are in a corner of the world that we don't have anything to eat, we don't have anybody, and left out, we can think of God and be wholly and totally dependent on Him, and He's the one who's going to take care of us. So that example of new life is set. Going back to Premashram, this school of love that he set the example of is not just for them. That Premashram is not, it wasn't only for the Premashram boys at that time. He set that example for anybody who wants to live that life, who wants to be a Premashram boy or a girl in the world. And the way he taught those boys is the way that one should follow to become that Premashram person, the Premashram boy or a girl. Basically, he worked on those boys. He showed them the purity and divinity of love. And he showed them how to, make that love pure and divine. And through that love, that purity of love, they became intoxicated in a way that, they not only crying at night and days for his being separated from him, also, it was a way of Baba showing to the world that anybody who can go through that can purify his love by repeating his name, as he set the example for the boys, by imaging him within his heart and loving him. Now I'm going to go back, to this example of Esfandiar to kind of, share with you what he shared with us, how he loved God and how he became a commercial boy. His desire was, he read this article in the paper, although he knew about Baba, but he didn't know who Baba is. He loved Baba as a child because Bible was actually his mother's uncle. So he would go to Bible's house along with his mother and look at Baba's pictures, and he would enjoy it. Naturally, he would enjoy it, but he didn't know, who Baba was until when he sees this article that Baba is calling for people to go to his school for, with free education, free accommodation and clothing and all that. And to him, this was a great opportunity, to go to India, become educated. His desire was to become a doctor or an engineer, actually. And he would see, being in Yaz, a village, a poor village, basically, that nobody has enough money to send their kids to school. He saw this is a great opportunity for him to go to India and basically get that education, become a doctor or an engineer. It was 14 of them that Idol collected and took them there, and I'm not going to go through a lot of details, but he was sitting at the one of his class sessions. That was Persian class, and Rao Sahib Kekhosro Afsari was teaching that class. And the class, the poet Sadi was recited by Kekhosro. One of the couplets that really struck him the most was that this couplet says, رسد آدمی به جایی که به جز خدا نبیند بنگر که تا چه حد است مکان آدمیت. Basically it says, man will get to a point that will not see anything except God. So see how high the abode of human being is. When this was read to him as a child, he questioned, the teacher, does really man, can see God? Is that really something true? And, Rao Sahib goes on explaining more that yes, the whole purpose of this whole creation is for one to become God, to realize God. And this sets a flame in his heart. And he decides that I don't want to study. What's the purpose of studying? Become an engineer and a doctor and get married, have kids, and then at the end you have to leave it all and go. So to him this was something nonsense. And for him now the desire was to see God. So with that in mind, he was, as a child, not knowing where God is, how he can find him, he was gazing through the sky and, trying to find him, and wouldn't pay attention to any of his schoolwork. Rao Sahib Kekhosro finally says, why don't you study Esfandiar yourself? I have no desire to study anymore. So he reports to Baba that Esfandiar is not studying, he doesn't pay attention to the schoolwork. So Baba comes, and he says, one day, I was gazing through the sky and I saw Kekhosro bow down, and I looked back to see who, he's paying attention to, who he's bowing down to, and I saw Baba right behind me. So Baba holds him like a child And then ask Esfandiar, why don't you study? I know I heard that you're not studying. What's the purpose of that? Why don't you study? Didn't you come here to study? He says, yes, Baba, but I don't want to study anymore. And then Baba says, why? Tell me why. He says, no, I don't want to study. And then Baba goes on asking, okay, if you don't tell me why you don't want to study, I'll send you back to your uncle in Bombay. He had an uncle in Bombay. Then Esfandiar was thinking, okay, if he sends me back to Bombay, it's okay. I can run away and go in search of God. But then Baba, all knowing what's happening in his heart, he says, no, if you don't tell me how why you don't want to study, I'll send you back to Iran, to your parents. Then he thinks, oh my God, if he sends me back to Iran, my dad wants to work, to work in the farm and then get me married and all that. He says, no, that won't work. So he tells Baba, he says, Baba, I want to see God. And then Baba says, okay, follow me. Baba actually takes him to his school was in the Dharamsala. Those who have been to Lower Merabat in India, that was their school actually. And Baba had the office next to the school, which was the women bathroom in Dharamsala, the corner. So Baba takes him to that office that Baba had, and there was a cot there. And Baba tells the Esfandiar to sit on the ground, so he sits there. And then Baba covers himself with a white sheet, and Esfandiar is sitting there. Baba is under the white sheet for a while, and he comes out and tells Esfandiar to follow him. Now Esfandiar remembers that Baba, when he came, before he went under the sheet, Baba was beaming of light. But when he he came out of that cover, Baba was all pale, yellowish, and like having jaundice. And so Esfandiar said Baba was like that. And we asked him at that time, why do you think Baba was like that? He said that Baba was taking a lot of my karmas to make me ready for what was going to happen the next. So what happens next is that they come out from the back door, and the Mandaris are waiting there with the rickshaw. That chariot that is in the museum, that was the rickshaw basically. So anyway, Baba goes up on the rickshaw and tells Esfandiar to go up. Now Esfandiar is climbing up the rickshaw, but there is no space for him to sit. Baba is sitting there, and there is no room for him to sit. So the rickshaw starts going, and as it's going up, rickshaw is going over the rocks and tumbles a little bit, and Esfandiar is about to fall. That Baba says, hold on to my arm. So he's holding to Baba's arm, and the rickshaw goes through the path. And he said the path wasn't the path that we would go to Upper Merabat. It was a path from the Arangam village, that cut off was for the railway station in that area. So anyway, they go up, and when they reach Upper Merabat, Baba tells Esfandiar to get off, so he gets up, and Baba comes down the chariot, the rickshaw, and then Baba tells Esfandiar, did you see how bumpy the road was? Esfandiar says, yes, Baba. He says, that is exactly how the spiritual path is. Now, if you hadn't held on to me, what would have happened? Now, Baba is talking to a child, and he said, Baba, I would have fallen off. He said, the same way, if you don't hold on to me on the spiritual path, you would fall off. And then he instructs Baba that from now on, you keep silence. You don't think of anything else except me. I am your father, your mother, your brother, your sisters, your relatives, everything. You think of me only and nothing else. And then he sets him on that, and he says, If you accidentally say a word or something, you go see one of the Mondays at a time, Sidhu, and Sidhu will bring you to me, and then you can talk in my presence. So anyway, sometimes he said, I started my work then. It was then that he started that Paramashram work as the first Paramashram boy on the hill. And then he said later on other kids joined, and sometimes he would accidentally say a word and they would take him to Baba, and then Baba would say, okay, talk now. And then he would say, Baba, I don't have anything to talk about. So he would sit, in Baba's presence for about an hour, and then Baba would discharge him to go back to his work. So this kept on going, and the flame of love basically intensified. The love purified, and it got to a point that he did not have any desire except his presence, Baba's presence. But in the meantime, there was a lot of thoughts that was collected in his mind that was pouring out, and he couldn't control them. He didn't want those thoughts because there were a lot of bad thoughts even about Baba and Baba's family and all that. So one day Baba takes him to the hall number 1, which was the museum of this day. And Baba sits there, Esfandiar is sitting there on the ground, and Baba spells out on the alphabet board, tell me what you're thinking. And Esfandiar says, nothing, Baba. And Baba says, no, tell me what you're thinking. So Baba keeps on asking, and Esfandiar denies that he's not thinking of anything. And finally, Baba spells out every thought that he had, one by one, on the alphabet board. And then Baba says, I haven't spent a lot of, any time like this for anybody. And then Baba walks away. Before he walks away, actually, there's Esfandiar, did you understand? And Esfandiar says, no. And Baba says, oh yes, you understood very well. And then Baba leaves. So anyway, he says that after that was the time that Baba helped him to control his mind. And he said that my mind was in such a control that when I was meditating or, having that inner presence with Baba, actually the meditation that they had was inner presence of God. They would sit and think about Baba, image him within their heart, and sit in his presence, basically, and look at him. That was their meditation. So anyway, he said that when I was in Baba's presence, in my inner, communion with Baba, the thought, I would feel the thoughts are coming, but it was like, someone behind the door, and your door is closed. You know that someone is behind the door. You can open the door, let them in, or you can keep the door closed. So he said I was keeping the door closed. So, and it kept on going, and I heard that he was on the third plane of consciousness. I read this in a book, that he was on the third plane of consciousness when he was in the Paramashram at that time. Which anyway, I won't go to the details on that any further. But I want to ask if anybody wants to hear any of other stories or has any questions or anything that they...
I'm wondering if you could tell the story of when he was... The Prem Ashram was in the East Room, where the women later were,
right.
Several years later were there, but it was in the East Room.
That's right.
And of course, when we were working on the East Room, we found the last passage right before they left, which was quite remarkable, saying, you brought us here 2 years ago, and you brought us from around the world, and you brought us here, and you gave us so much love, and now tomorrow we must leave. It was written in pencil on the wall. It was just discovered and our hearts are broken. But we thank you for all the love you've given us, and even though we leave tomorrow, we thank you for all this love you gave us. So I was wondering if you could tell the story of when they were in the East Room and Esfandiar, Baba would come at night with a lantern.
Yeah, you know, in the later time before they left, because Baba told them to go back to their home, to all the schoolboys, even the Pramasham and Meherasham, all of them, that they need to go. But before this could happen, Esfandiar remembered that, you know, he didn't have any desire to sleep. He said that there was no sleep for me after the love awakened in me, the real love, the pure love of God. And the East Room, he said that we had like cubicles that was made from bamboo and also straw mattings, you know, had separated the East Room. And every boy had a section, basically a cubicle. And his cubicle was somewhere in the middle based on what he's described, and on the left side, because he said, you know, while he was sitting and in his, you know, deep meditation and inner communion with Baba, he would see Baba coming. He would say through the just thick wall. Sometimes I would laugh because there was no wall. But when you are in that real love with the beloved, you see him within you coming or going, and there is no wall. But the wall of that museum is really thick. So, but he was feeling Baba coming and seeing Baba coming. And then he said, as soon as I would open my physical eyes, I would see Baba walked in, and Dayal would hold the lantern at the door, and Baba would come in and to Esfandiar, and Esfandiar would embrace Baba's feet like that. He would hold Baba's legs, and Baba would put his hand on Esfandiar's head and say, tell me about your experiences. And he said, as soon as I would start a few words, Baba would say, okay, that's enough. Now I want you to do it this way, to, you know, change your inner, you know, your inner work with me. And Baba would guide him inwardly. Baba basically would guide him inwardly. He knew exactly what to do. And it was kept going and going. And then, you know, before Baba wanted to leave, he would, you know, shake his legs and check his legs. And Esfandiar knew that he should let Baba go. So Baba would leave. But he said that Baba would come almost every day, 12 o'clock midnight, in the middle of the night. And he wasn't asleep, was thinking of him. And then the day comes that Baba says, I want you to obey me 100%. Would you obey me? If I ask you something, would you do it? And he knew exactly what Baba is going to ask. But he said, I had no choice. I had to say, yes, Baba, I would obey. And then Baba said, you go back to Iran, you do my work there, I am there with you also. And that was the time that they sent them to Iran. Now, as I said in the beginning, this was an example set for all of us. How we can, through repeating his name and being in inner communion with him, to get closer and closer to him and purify this love and be a Paramashram boy or a girl. I'm going to read a quote from Baba himself on the purification of this love. It says, if those who love me will, for just 1 minute, be silent in their minds just before they go to bed and think of me and picture me in the silence of their minds and do that regularly, then this veil of ignorance that we have will disappear, and this bliss that I speak of and which all long for, we shall experience. Do not worry about your weaknesses. Eventually they will go. Even if they linger, love will one day consume them. Everything disappears in the ocean of love. Because I love you, you have a pool of love within you. When you feel wretched, when you fall in your weakness, have a dip in that pool of love. Refresh yourself in that pool of my love within you. It is always there. When we love from the bottom of our hearts, we give all our good and bad, even our troubles. When we love from the bottom of hearts, we give all our good and bad, even our troubles. The lover gives everything and demands nothing. Love me like that, and Baba is your slave. Love, now this is to the Parameshwaran boys, love can be awakened by constantly thinking of the Master. Love is the very essence of Godhood. Love holds all keys to all mysteries of life. Love awakens. Now, Baba talks about true love. You know, we talk about love, but true love, divine, true, pure, divine love is different. That only is the gift of the Master or the beloved to the lover. And that only comes when the lover doesn't want anything else except him, except his presence. True love can never come to those whose heart is darkened by selfish cravings or weakened by constant reliance upon the lures and the stimulus of the passing objects of the senses. But to whose hearts are pure and simple, true love comes as a gift through the True love comes as a gift through the activizing grace of the Master. Well, again, I'm going to stop here, pause for a minute, and invite all of you for 5 minutes. Let's think about the beloved. Let's try to image him and join the Parameshwaran. End this inner communion with Baba with 2 couplets of Hafiz. One of the couplets that he has, he says, هر دم که دل به عشق دهی خوشتمی بود در کار خیر حاجت هیچ استخاره نیست. He said, anytime you can give your heart to love is a blissful moment. So in this good deed, do not hesitate, dive in. And then the other couplet says, خیز و جهدی کن چه حافظ تا مگر خیشتن بر پای معشوق افکنی. He says, get up and make the effort like Hafiz and throw yourself at the feet of the master. Well, I'll let you guys, if you have any question, ask or anything like that that I can help. I'm more than happy to help. Otherwise, I see Angela anxious to get me out of here. Yes.
I have a question. You had mentioned that Esfandiar was on the plains. Do you want to describe how you know?
Yeah, I read in a book actually.
From your diary.
No. It was, I think, the best of Glow. And this was after I had left Iran. I had come to, I mean, I knew that, let me go back a little bit to give you a little bit of what I felt of him. When I was as a child in Iran in the meetings, we knew, that he met Baba, he was in the school with Baba. Because, my two uncles also were with the school with him. So through my uncles, I knew of Esfandiar, and through Esfandiar, I knew a little bit more about my uncles. But my uncles were in Shiraz, another city, so I didn't really have a lot of connection with my uncles, but a lot with Esfandiar. And one day at the meeting, there was this saying of Baba that they were reading, and Baba says, if you have the piece of a frozen lake, you will realize me. And as this was rare, I looked, as a child, when I looked around the meeting hall to see who has this piece of a frozen lake. And my eyes fell on Esfandiar. His eyes were closed and he was in a relaxed mode and beaming, like. I said, if anyone has a piece of a frozen lake, this is the man. So this was an incident and it finished. And didn't know about his planes. I came to the United States, to study like Mernush and many others of us who were in that school of God Speaks. I remember those days, they had God Speaks with Esfandiar actually. That was, So anyway, I come to the university. Sometimes Gohar, my sister, would call, and Esfandiar was next to her. So Esfandiar would talk to me over the phone. Sometimes I would write, and he would write back to me. And but beside that, I read this article in this magazine, that Esfandiar was on the third plane of consciousness when he was in Paramashram. So the opportunity came, and I could go to India in late 90s, early 91. And, I wanted to ask him, to give me a little bit of essence of that being in the plains. So I go there, I go here, and my sister called that you should come because, you can come and translate for us, and we don't know any English. And my status at that time in America was that I was a student, and anyway, okay, I won't go to talk. Yeah. Yeah, because that would take long. Anyway, I took the risk, let's put it this way, I took the risk to go to India. I went, but not knowing that I will or will not be able to come back. But I went. And the story of coming back is another story of the magic shoes that some of you might know. We'll get back to some other session anyway, that's a long story also. But what happens, I go there, and you know, when I would get with him, with Esfandiar, even in the old days, we would go up the mountains, we would sit on the, you know, the skirt of the mountain, and he would tell us how to meditate, how to think of Baba. He would, you know, basically teach us what he was taught in Pramasham. He would say, okay, think of Baba, repeat his name, and image him. Try to image him within the third eye. First, we would say, you know, image him through the third eyes. That we would do, you know. A lot of us had that struggle of controlling the mind and keeping that image focus on that image and all that. But we did that. So, you know, what I was saying there is that whenever we would get together, the habit was that, okay, we would sit, talk a little bit, and then think about Baba, you know, dive into that love. And the same happened in India. He chose to be in the Dharamsala, although they offered him the Pilgrims, no, not Mayor Pilgrim Center. MPC, yeah, that's right, the lower Mayor. This was more luxury, lunch was ready and all that. He said, no, I want to go to Dharamsala. So me and him basically stayed in Dharamsala. And as usual, you know, we would talk, and then he was on one bed in front of me. Actually, I was on bed in front of him, so we were two beds across each other. And in one of these occasions, he sat and I sat, and we meditated for, you know, some time. After that, you know, he would come and say a few words, maybe talk about a little bit about Baba. And I saw him in a very good mood. So I asked him, Amu, I read that in one of the books that you are in plane, you know, you were in third plane of consciousness when you were in Pramasham. I don't know what plane you are in now, but can you tell me a little bit about that? And I also, you know, took the opportunity. I put it in a, you know, kind of a joking mode, because I asked him, you know, I read also God Speaks, and in God Speaks, Baba says the souls on any higher planes can bring other souls to their own level. So I took this opportunity, and jokingly I said, Ammo, you know, why don't you bring me to your own level? You know what he did? He put his hand in his pocket, and he had raisins and pistachios and all that. Sometimes he would share with Muhammad. He would sit with Muhammad the Mass, and he would give some to Muhammad. Muhammad would eat and laugh, and he would laugh, and they had a good time together. So anyway, he brings some of that out and says, it is not, he said, I can help, but it is not like this that I put this in your hand. He said, you have to work. And the work that he was talking about was the work of love that happened in Pramasham, that Baba taught them, that, what Baba says is the pure love, the divine love is a gift from the master to the disciple, or the beloved to the lover. But to get to that pure love, one has to basically make the grounds ready. To make the grounds ready, the soul has to be ready to receive that love. Because otherwise it's going to actually be a big shock to the soul. The soul won't be able to take it and drop the body. So to lay the grounds, one has to purify his thoughts, his actions, his heart, to void everything from him until that purity of divine life can go through. And that is how the work was. The work is to lay the foundation. to lay the grounds, to get it ready for that divine love to come. And that's basically what he meant, and that's what basically what he, taught each one of us from Iran all the way to here, talking about that love. Those who were here, who met him, know that his emphasis was love and was the purity of the heart and was basically how to get this foundation ready for the real structure of his divine love. So anyway, he didn't bring me to his own level. Yes.
How old was he when he went to Prem-Ashram?
He was 5th grade. I would say if he started at 7 for the 1st grade, he should have been 12. And yeah, he was 12 or 13 years old. So that's right.
He was the oldest.
Yeah, he was the oldest and the tallest, being at the end of the line. Because Baba came, and they, fortunate they were standing, Baba came and, caressed one by one, from first to the last who was he, and by the time Baba gets to him, he walks away. He doesn't even pay attention to him. So he was thinking for a while, what happened? Why, what a sinner I am that Baba even didn't pay attention to me. He was thinking about that. And then when the time came that Baba held him in the school for a while, asking why he doesn't want to study, he said, that time I realized why he wanted, to keep me away so I can enjoy that embrace at that time.
And how old was the youngest?
The youngest was 7-year-old, because the 7, they couldn't get younger than 7-year-old. And the youngest were, I believe it were actually my uncles. They were the youngest at 7 years old. My dad couldn't go because he was 4-year-old, so he couldn't go. Yes.
How old were they when it was disbanded?
Baba started the Prem-Ashram in 1927. And then in 1929, he said everyone should go.
Just 2 years?
Just 2 years. Baba's commitment was 5 years. He said, anybody can come and stay here for 5 years. And he had actually had all the parents to sign the paper for 5 years. But after 2 years, he said, I'm done, my work is done, and he sent them all home. So he was 15, close to 16 years old, and he went back to Iran.
Rashid, اجازه بده یه چیزی بهت بگم.
بفرمایید.
بهشون بگو اگر میخواید بابا رو ببینید و با بابا وصل بشید، نفستون رو از بین ببرید، ایگو رو از بین ببرید. اگر ایگو استاپ بشه بابا رو میبینید. اگر ایگو داشته باشید نه.
Okay, Shirin is saying that I should tell you something, which I would. He says that if you want to see Baba, to know Baba in a real sense, is that the ego, you have to destroy your ego. And that actually is good that she brought it up, because it was brought up at a session with Esfandiar, that one has to destroy the ego. But what he said is that, why do you bother to destroy the ego? Let the ego be there. You keep loving. He said, when you love, the ego eventually will vanish. So the key is the love.
So was it your understanding that Esfandiar was going through the planes consciously?
Definitely consciously, yes. Because the story that Mernush said earlier about the story of Baba Tahir Orion and, him not believing that, throw the book away and then go to the city of Yazd to get medicine, that all the snow and ice basically almost killed him. And he was thinking about Baba, that, it broke his heart that he won't see Baba. And suddenly, the heat of that bucket of water that he felt, they, poured on his head, melted all the snow, and through his trip through the city of Yazd and coming back to his village, he said, I was experiencing the plains of basically, the melodies and the fragrance of the garden. Yeah, the seventh. And then also when he was with Baba, actually, he mentioned that he had a lot of experiences of that too. The melodies and the fragrance was so much. Sometimes he said it was, it's undescribable. That's what he would say. Later years, when he was coming here to the center, and also, being in America, his experiences were in a way that it was, we would feel basically. I have felt many, many times. I have even tested him many, many times. He would know what you're thinking, basically. Unintentionally, he would know that. I tested him and also Muhammad Amas once. I sat with Muhammad Amas once. I said, if he's a mass, he knows what I'm thinking, if he's on the fifth plane. So I started thinking about bad things, worldly things and all that. And suddenly Muhammad said, Joe, Joe, Joe. It basically got me out of there. And then one other time I said, because I had to finish my test. So I would go there. Before that, I was in the meditation and mood with Baba, and I go there in meditation and, thinking about Baba and imaging Baba. And he's laughing. He's looking at me, he's laughing. He's looking at me, he's laughing. He didn't say a word. He was just laughing, beaming, enjoying my company. And that's exactly how it was with Esfandiar. I tested him a few times. With worldly thoughts, he would get aggravated. But as soon as you would think about Baba and, he would feel that your heart is with Baba, he would, be willing to be with you, to sit with you.
What are the names of your other two uncles?
Khosrow and Khodayar. Khosrow was, actually Khosrow ended up in Premashram, but Khodayar was not in Premashram, but they both were good souls. I mean, I didn't, unfortunately, because of the distance, I wasn't having a lot of time with them, but I remember once they were working on Daido's house in Yazd, and I took time off from my school, went there and stayed with them. So at night they would recite Hafiz, and Khodayar actually had highlighted all the Hafiz of where Hafiz is talking about Baba. He would say, Hafiz, here he talks about Baba. Bekshar, Lab, Mardazan. There are a few couplets, I can find those.
Oh yeah, I find Baba and Hafiz too, yeah.
So anyway, yes.
That story that Esfandiar, when his wife was injured and that he was injured and they were both incapacitated.
Oh yeah. This relates to you too, that's why, kid. You said why, how do you know that he experienced the plains? This was another experience that he had, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Jonathan. What happened, he broke his hip. You remember that he had canes in the last years of his life. When he broke his hip, it happened in Iran, and his wife also had broken her hip. And they both were basically immobilized. They couldn't even move. And one night when Esfandiar was, was in inner communion with Baba, Shirin, also his wife, was in agony of pain of breaking her hip. So Shirin is crying that she wants to go to the bathroom and somebody should help him. So Esfandiar, kind of shouts to his younger son, who was living with them, Perviz, that Perviz should come to the rescue. And Perviz was sound asleep, so he wouldn't listen, or he wouldn't, he couldn't hear them. So what happens in this agony of not being able to help Shirin, and Shirin in the agony, Esfandiar goes into the deep meditation. He says, I have to think about Baba and, just think, just make a way that I don't feel my body. So he goes through this inner communion, deep inner communion with Baba, that he forgets about his body and the world and everything. And through that love that he experiences, he said that I felt that I am in a pool, in an ocean actually of love, and I'm swimming in this love. And through that love, he said, I experienced the infinite power. He said, I had power in me. And then he said, I decided to use this power to see if I can lift a book off the shelf. And he says, I tried to do that. I made that effort, but it didn't happen. And then I said, I'm going to use that power to love Baba even more. And he used that power, and he started loving Baba. He said, when I started doing that, I lost myself in that love. He said, at that time, now look at how, when the soul experiences, he says, at that time, I experienced the purity of divine love, at that time. And then through that, he said that Baba basically helped me not to do any miracles. And then after that, because of that purity of love, Baba pushed him from the 5th plane into the 6th plane of consciousness. So he was on the 6th plane of consciousness. Sometimes, the people around him, and I sometimes would feel that he is, nothing of him left, is only the beloved. I mean, to me sometimes he was one with Baba, Baba one with him. But even if he was on the 6th plane of consciousness, when he dropped his body, Baba said that I basically kicked the 6th planers to become one with me before they dropped the body. Baba says that somewhere. So he won't, unfortunately, he won't come back again. So that was his last. And Baba said that would be his last. Later years, these later years came that my sister sent me a note from Esfandiar. And that note was when he visited Baba in 63 in India. And Esfandiar asked Baba, who are the 5 perfect masters at this time? And Baba gives this note to him, which the original note that Baba gave to him, nobody could find. But the note was that Adike Irani was one of them. Esfandiar was one of them. And now these are the ones that before they drop their body, they become one with him. And then there were 3 others that we didn't remember. So Adi actually was perfect before he even dropped his body. And I never met Adi actually, unfortunately. When I was in India, he was visiting the West, and when I was in the West, he was in India. So we missed each other.
Not your destiny.
Not my destiny.
I love the story of Esfandiar with Darwin, if you want to tell your experience.
Yeah, oh gosh, that was amazing. I mean, to see these two lovers to come together. You know, when Esfandiar was visiting the center, he was usually housed at their robot. We too, as caretakers, were housed there, you know, to keep him happy and take care of him. And I had this good fortune of translating for him. And one of these visits that, Darwin had with Esfandiar, the red couch that you see next to the window, that was a couch actually. Esfandiar was sitting here, Darwin was sitting here, and I was sitting in the middle. And sometimes Esfandiar would say something, I would translate it to Darwin. Darwin would say something, I would translate it to Esfandiar. Through this, back and forth, because of them talking about Baba and their physical contact with Baba, made me break down. I had always done it. And I couldn't hold myself, so I burst into tears. And then Darwin said, why are you crying? I said, Darwin, I miss Baba's presence, Baba's physical presence. And Darwin said, I do too. And then there was another occasion that they talked a little bit, and people were asking questions and they were answering, but after that, nobody really had anything to ask, and they all went into deep, love and inner communion with Baba. So they were all thinking about Baba. And it went on for a while. Another drop, another pin drop of noise. And at the end, Summer, who was taking care of Darwin, she said, Darwin, your medicine time is, getting close, and I don't have your medicine with me. We should go back. So Darwin always surrendered, got up, and I helped Esfandiar to get up. They embraced each other, and I was holding them. Basically, the love energy was going through these two and through me, blended together. And Darwin walked close to the door. As he was leaving, I was holding, helping Esfandiar because he couldn't be by himself. So I was helping him and holding him. And I tell you, this silence and experience that I had felt, and that purity of love that I felt on that day, it was something divine, something that I had never felt before. And at that time, Esfandiar turned to me. Now Darwin is leaving, we're at the door, but I'm holding Esfandiar. Esfandiar turns to me and he tells me, did you feel that presence? My Persian, who حضور رو حس کردی؟ He said, did you feel that presence? And I said, yes. And he turns to me and says, Daddy is Baba's presence. Because my heart was broken and wanted Baba's presence. They both worked together to give me that presence. And I'd never forget that. Because that set an example of how his presence should be. You know? When I feel that presence, I know he's there. حضوری گر همی خواهی از او غافل مشو حافظ. He says, if you want his constant companion, never be absent from him, Hafiz. That's for us. If you want his presence, we should never be absent from him. That means that we should think of him all the time, continuously, day and night, even in our sleep, and keep that presence. That is the key. That holds the key to the mystery of life. That love, that presence.